Imagine losing everything you've ever known in a single moment. No explanation, no goodbye, just the sting of betrayal and a harsh world left to navigate. This is the story of Kelvin, a boy whose life was shattered by the very people who should have protected him. But that was just the beginning. Imagine losing everything you've ever known in a single moment. No explanation, no goodbye, just the sting of betrayal and a harsh world left to navigate. This is the story of Kelvin, a boy whose life was shattered by the very people who should have protected him. But that was just the beginning. Kelvin was just 14 when the worst day of his life began. His parents, his only family, were gone in a flash, victims of a tragic car accident. Left with nothing but memories, Kelvin thought the worst was behind him. But that was before his uncle Eddy, the man they had always turned to for help, showed his true face. Uncle Eddy wasn't just family, he was the patriarch of their family. So when Kelvin and his little sister, Sharon, stood in front of him that day, ready to be taken care of, they had no idea that he would coldly turn them away. "You've got nothing left," Uncle Eddy snapped. His words were sharp, cutting through the air like a blade. "Your parents didn't leave a will. I'm not your guardian." Behind him, two burly security guards folded their arms, watching as Uncle Eddy handed Kelvin a crumpled envelope. "This is your future now. I'm not responsible," he said, turning his back without another word. Kelvin's heart sank. He had just lost everything, and now his family was throwing him away. The gates to his former home closed with a cold, metallic thud. There was no turning back. Sharon, his younger sister, stood barefoot, her small frame trembling with fear. Kelvin took her hand, but he couldn't find the words to console her. He was just a kid, too, alone in a world that didn't care. With nowhere to go and no one to turn to, Kelvin and Sharon wandered the crowded streets of Lagos. People rushed by, their lives moving at lightning speed, but no one seemed to notice the two kids who had just been discarded by the world. They passed food vendors, market stalls, and busy intersections, but all they had was each other. "Where will we sleep tonight?" Sharon whispered through trembling lips. Kelvin didn't have an answer. He couldn't afford to break down. Not in front of her. Not yet. For the first few nights, they slept in abandoned buildings, using their school uniforms as blankets, with only cardboard between them and the cold concrete. Kelvin kept watch, clutching a small rock for protection, though he had no idea how to use it. Days passed. The hunger gnawed at them. Sharon's cough grew worse, and she stopped speaking, her eyes dull with fever. Kelvin tried everything. He begged in front of stores. He visited pharmacies, his hands shaking as he asked for medicine, but no one would help. People looked away, their faces hardened by the reality of their own struggles. "Please, she's just a little girl," he begged one pharmacist. The man coldly shook his head and said, "Go call your mother." Kelvin whispered, "She's dead." One night, with no more strength to give, Kelvin did what he had to. He joined other boys on the streets, selling bottled water to passing drivers. The heat of the Lagos sun burned his skin as he ran between cars, shouting, "Cold water, pure water." The first few drivers ignored him. One man even slapped his hand away. But then someone bought, and another, and another. That evening, Kelvin made enough to buy Sharon some medicine. He crushed the tablets, mixed them with water, and carefully fed her. She threw up the first dose, but the second one stayed down. For the first time in weeks, Kelvin felt a small sense of victory. As days turned into weeks, the harshness of their new life continued to wear them down. But then, just when Kelvin thought he couldn't take another step, something unexpected happened. One evening, a figure appeared in front of their makeshift home. It was Mr. Johnson, their old neighbor. Kelvin recognized him immediately, though he looked different now. Thinner, more worn. His eyes were filled with a mix of shock and guilt. I couldn't just leave you like this," Mr. Johnson said, his voice breaking. "I heard what happened. I've been trying to find you." Kelvin didn't speak. He didn't know what to say. He was used to surviving on his own. But now, this man who once served them meals in his home was offering them something they had only dreamed of. "I don't have much, but you can stay with me. Just a small place, 2 rooms. It's not much, but it's better than nothing." That night, Kelvin, Sharon, and their little brother, Tulu, moved into the small apartment. It was cramped, noisy, and far from perfect, but it had a roof. It had warmth. It had life. Kelvin kept pushing. He sold water, cleaned cars, did whatever he could to make ends meet. Slowly, they moved from survival to something resembling a real life. Sharon and Tulu were back in school. Their uniforms weren't perfect, but they had them. They had hope. 3 years later, Kelvin stood behind his own stall in the market. It was small, but it was his. The sign, hand-painted in bold, red letters, read Kelvin's Pure Water and Drinks. He looked at his siblings, now laughing and arguing over homework at the table, and a smile tugged at his lips. The journey had been long, the pain had been real, but they had made it. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the bustling street, Kelvin whispered to himself, "I did it. We did it." And the street, it had stopped beating him. Now it simply nodded when he walked by. This story isn't just about survival. It's about fighting for your future, even when the world seems to have turned its back on you. It's about resilience, about family, and about the unwavering belief that no matter how dark the night gets, there is always the promise of dawn. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotionally powerful stories that will restore your faith in humanity.